Welcome back to the program. You're watching The World Today, broadcasting live from Lagos on Channels Television. We've been taking you around the world, but we want to remind you that Malaysian authorities have reported a crash of a Boeing 747 airliner on the Russian-Ukrainian border. The flight was carrying 295 people. We do know that there are no survivors of the crash. Now, the last known position of the plane was over Ukraine. It is believed that it was shot down by militants. The details that we have is still very sketchy, but we will continue to update you on this developing story. We do also know that President Barack Obama is to press over this same issue in a couple of minutes. Let's move on now to the crisis in Gaza. Well, when it looked like there was a ray of light concerning making peace between the Palestinian and the warring Israeli faction, they have taken one step forward again and two steps backwards. Israel's foreign minister and Hamas have denied earlier reports of a truce deal to end fighting in Gaza between Israel and Palestinian militants. Avigdor Lieberman said the reports were, as of now, incorrect, and Hamas, which controls Gaza, said talks in Egypt were ongoing. Some 227 Palestinians and one Israeli have died in 9 days of the conflict.
This morning, the Israeli army released footage it says shows militants' gear and ammunition left near a tunnel from which Gaza gunmen entered Israel. A military source said Israeli forces repelled at least a dozen Hamas gunmen who tunneled in from the Gaza Strip today, adding there were several Palestinian casualties. No Israelis were harmed in the infiltration near a southern Israeli community. The Israeli military also confirmed that about a dozen Palestinian fighters tunneled under the border from Gaza, emerging near an Israeli community. The head of the emergency team at the kibbutz, Hadass Grishbin, said residents were remaining in their homes. Israel and Hamas agreed to cease fighting for 5 hours today for a humanitarian truce requested by the UN, though Israel remained poised to expand its offensive in the Gaza Strip if rocket fire persisted.
I am now being joined by Gabe Joslow, who will be speaking to us about developments in the Gaza Strip. Thanks a lot, Gabe, for joining us on the program. What more do we know about this crisis at the moment?
Well, what we saw today was there was a brief pause in fighting. There was about a 5-hour break that was agreed to by Israel to allow for some humanitarian movement to get Palestinians a chance to get, food, to go to the bank, to do essential things. As soon as that ended, which was in the afternoon local time, the fighting started up again. So we've seen rockets flying from Gaza into Israel, and we've seen retaliatory Israeli airstrikes.
But what more do we know about the talks in Egypt? Is it going to affect the crisis now? Will Hamas bend over this time around?
Well, we know that there's still talks going on. We know that Egypt is still trying to broker a long-term, more comprehensive truce. So far, there's been little progress. There were some media reports earlier that Israel was ready for a deal, but Hamas was not, and then Israeli officials also backed off. So it's not really clear what's happening, but if past crises are any indication, it would seem that a deal is probably getting pretty close. The fact that they could start fighting today for 5 hours indicates that maybe the two sides are closer to being ready to work together than they have been before.
So how about the mood? Because I understand that you were in Gaza and you have seen what's happening on ground. Can you tell us what's really happening on ground?
Well, people in Gaza are angry. They're frustrated. They feel like they've been under siege for years, and one of the consequences of this conflict is that the borders have been closed. So there's really no movement. There's no goods coming in. The price of gasoline and cement has skyrocketed. And also, with the constant Israeli strikes, people are afraid to go out in the street. So the people in Gaza just are really fed up with this conflict, with all conflict, and want peace more than anything. There's also a bit of sympathy for what Hamas is doing, in that since Israel is seen as such an aggressor, Hamas is getting a bit of popular support from their violent campaign against Israel. So it's really a messy scene there, and more than anything, people want peace.
Okay, so this isn't documented yet, but we are hearing that one of the reasons why Hamas could be so much on the defensive and offensive, if you'd like, is that it has the backing of ISIS. That's the same militant group operating in Syria. Do you have any information along this line of thought at all?
I haven't been able to heard that information yet, and wouldn't be able to confirm any connections that they would have with ISIS. We know that they do get support from Iran. They also get some support from the Hezbollah movement in Lebanon, but I'm not sure about any connection with ISIS.
Absolutely. So moving forward now, we're expecting to see some sort of truce if the Egyptian proposal pulls through today or tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yes, sorry, you broke up a little bit there, but you're asking about the Egyptian proposal. I would say the way that things are moving, it's likely we could see some action tonight. I'm sure we'll see a statement at least from the two sides before tomorrow morning. And hopefully for the Palestinian people, for the Israeli people, there will be a lasting agreement.
All right, thanks a lot, Gabe Joslo, right at the heart of the whole crisis for us. It will be nice to say that you should please keep safe. We will be in touch with you and keep getting updates on the crisis in Gaza. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Well, the US and EU have bolstered sanctions against Russia over its alleged support for separatists fighting in Ukraine. The US has targeted major banks, including Gazprom Bank, defense firms, and energy companies, including Rosneft. However, the Russian President Vladimir Putin appears to be unaffected by the threat, as he was quoted as saying sanctions will take US-Russia relations to a dead end. Well, despite the supposed rape laws in place, rape cases in India have increased to a point that new incidents are reported on a weekly basis, and that doesn't include unreported cases. Sadly, 6-year-old schoolgirl is the latest victim, as she has allegedly been raped by 2 staff members at a prominent school in the southern Indian city of Bangalore. The alleged assault happened on July the 2nd, but her parents discovered it only a few days ago after she complained of stomach ache and was taken to the hospital. Meanwhile, hundreds of parents have protested outside the school, pulling down its gates and shouting slogans. Police have registered a case, but they are yet to make any arrests. Now moving on to the last story on the bulletin today. Following the allegations of child abuse in Mexico, the Mexican Attorney General Jesus Murillo has confirmed that his office is investigating the matter, particularly in the city of Zamora. The home where more than 450 children lived was raided on Tuesday after parents said their children were held against their will and abused. Mr. Murillo vowed to find out if and why previous complaints had not been probed thoroughly or had been dismissed. Now, at the moment, more than 70 families have demanded their children be handed back to them. But police say they have succeeded in rescuing 278 boys, 174 girls, and 6 infants under the age of 3 from the house of the big family on Tuesday. Now, the home's founder, Rosa del Carmen Verducho, also known as Mama Rosa, and 8 employees have been arrested, but they have denied any wrongdoing. Well, that would be all on The World Today. Thanks a lot for watching. I am Adeshawa Josh. Up next is Sports at 6.